All right, let's dive into a framework that you've probably seen popping up in debates online, the maker versus taker worldview. Today, we're going to break down exactly what it means, where it comes from, and why it's got people so fired up.
And this whole conversation really got a huge boost from a single post by Elon Musk. He drew a line in the sand, calling himself a maker, and politicians advocating for wealth taxes, takers. This quote right here, it's pretty much the perfect starting point for everything we're about to explore.
So, here's our game plan. We'll start with the core idea, then get into the real cost of things with a quick story. After that, we'll look at what's been called an ecosystem of taking, see what the proposed solution of meritocracy is all about, and wrap up with the power of so-called maker stories. Okay, first things first. What do people even mean when they say maker or taker? To really get this, we have to understand the definitions as they're presented by the people who use these terms.
It's set up as a pretty simple, almost binary comparison. You've got your makers. These are the inventors, the entrepreneurs, the people building things and creating new value. And on the other side, you've got the takers, who, from this perspective, are the ones who consume or move that value around but don't actually create any of it themselves.
This worldview also has a very specific definition of wealth. The argument is that it's not some giant fixed pile of money sitting in a vault. Think less Scrooge McDuck's money bin and more perceived value. It's the worth that society decides the maker's creations have. And if you devalue those creations, that wealth can, poof, just disappear.
And that leads us to the central conflict. The big danger, according to this perspective, isn't just that takers exist. It's the idea that a whole class of people is rising up who feel entitled to the value that makers create, and that this could actually break the whole system.
So, that's all a bit abstract, right? How does this play out in day-to-day life? Well, this next part uses a really simple anecdote to show how the maker perspective views earning and spending.
The source material uses a story about a father buying his kid a burrito to drive home a point about what $1 is really worth.
Okay, so picture this. A father wants to buy his child a burrito, and the price on the menu is $2. Simple enough, but to get those $2, he first had to go to his job and earn $4. Then the government takes half of that, $2, in taxes. That leaves him with the $2 in his pocket that he can finally use to buy that burrito.
And that's the punchline. When the kid says, "Oh, it's only $2, the father stops him and says, No, that cost me $4. From his point of view, the real cost wasn't the price tag. It was all the work he had to do to earn the money in the first place.
So the whole point of that story is to trigger this mental shift, to stop just looking at the price of something and start thinking about all the pre-tax work and effort that went into being able to afford it. It's about the total cost, not just what you hand over at the register.
Now, this idea of a taker mindset isn't just aimed at individuals. The source argues that it's actually being encouraged by entire systems in our society. So let's take a look at what it calls the ecosystem of taking.
According to this commentary, there are a few key places where this mindset is supposedly being nurtured. The finger gets pointed at certain college programs, especially in the liberal arts and sociology, a broader cultural focus on critiquing power structures, and even the huge growth of the nonprofit sector.
Digging into the higher education piece, the critique is that some college programs spend a lot more time teaching students how to analyze and critique the way wealth is distributed, and often frame redistribution as the main goal, instead of teaching them the skills to actually go out and create new value themselves.
And this line of thinking also gets applied to the nonprofit world. The source really questions the automatic assumption that just because an organization doesn't make a profit, its work is automatically virtuous or valuable. The core idea is that an absence of profit isn't the same thing as creating value. Okay, so if the argument is that there's this whole ecosystem pushing a taker worldview, then what's the fix? What's the antidote they're proposing? The solution, as laid out in the source, is all about getting back to one central principle, a word they even suggest should be the word of the year. And that word is meritocracy. The idea is to build a society where, yeah, you get an opportunity, but success isn't just handed to you. You have to earn it. You have to prove yourself through your performance and your merit. It's all about rewarding the things that, in this view, define a maker.
So what this really boils down to is a call to action. It's a call to get back to basics, to start teaching younger generations the fundamental lessons about what it means to earn a living, the satisfaction you get from creating something valuable, and the basic importance of work.
But how do you actually get those lessons to sink in? The source is pretty clear that boring lectures and abstract economic theories are just going to go in one ear and out the other.
You need something way more compelling. The key, they argue, is storytelling. People don't really connect with charts and graphs. They connect with stories. Stories about real people who saw a problem, came up with a creative solution, and ended up building something amazing. And the absolute prime example they use is the story of Margaret Rudkin. So back in the 1930s, her son couldn't eat the processed bread from the store because of an allergy. What did she do? She went into her kitchen and basically invented modern whole wheat bread from scratch. It was a huge hit, not just for her son, but for everyone who tried it, and she turned that innovation into a business she named after her family's property, Pepperidge Farm.
So this story is held up as the perfect model of the maker spirit. It's a story that's all about innovation and problem solving, not about complaining or taking. It's about one person creating massive value for everyone just by trying to solve a personal problem.
And that really brings us to the final point. The argument is that a society gets more of what it celebrates. So if a society thrives by celebrating its makers, it leaves us with a really important question to think about. What are the stories that shape our understanding of value today?